Hello team, welcome back to another Line War cast. We have a 2v2 game today on Alpha Team, Dr. No in blue, and Deedland in red. And on Bravo Team, Cursed Crusader, God Gamer, Burr in orange, and Regular Easy, German, in teal. There's some Navy in the center here, small choke on the bottom. We can see that Deedland's going to spawn in the bottom here, and Dr. No on the same team is going to spawn in the east. Not sure where Bravo Team's going at the moment, but we can see that the orange territory, all the different places that Bravo Team players could decide to spawn. We'll see how much of the Navy comes into play here. With big lakes on maps like this, you sometimes see a bunch of missile boats get parked in the center to stop any planes from, transiting down to this choke, which could become a part of the map that is fought over, or wherever the planes need to go. Deedland definitely taking all these spots. Dr. No far left again. And here we go. Cursed Crusader, God Gamer, Burr in the north. And their teammate Regular Easy a little bit off to the east. Two airports right away from Deedland. And two airports, a refinery, and a barracks for Dr. No in the west. Two factories from Regular Easy on Bravo Team. And three quick barracks, for Orange. And a factory to follow that up. There's a lot of land in the north here that Bravo Team is going to be able to cap. And it might be a little bit more land mass in general that Bravo Team has access to. But that might not become the differentiating factor. Two helicopters, for Deedland, and two more barracks that are going to directly compete with these two factories. So over time, Regular Easy is going to have a decent artillery army or whatever units are just end up getting made out of these factories. I doubt it's tanks. Here comes the first two artillery pieces. A third factory for Regular Easy, who's also gone for a town. This was a pre-built town with the starting money. And these two helicopters can do a lot of damage to artillery. If Regular Easy went into SAMs right away, the helicopters are going to have troubles. So let's see how quickly that SAM transition happens. And with two artillery pieces out already for Teal, I don't feel like these infantry are going to be able to do much. At best, they're going to be able to scout this town. And even with two more barracks, if Teal just generates enough of an artillery army with some SAMs, then Deedland might be in a little bit of trouble. Helicopters from Dr. No as well, with a second barracks at this point to ramp up that capping speed. And here come the two first helicopters for Deedland, making their way into this forest. Regular Easy sees it and is kind of backing up a little bit. And I suspect there's going to be a transition to SAMs out of at least some of these factories. Fourth factory for Regular Easy. Deedland destroys intentionally one of these barracks, which isn't even, I don't even think that bad of a play. Because, I mean, these two barracks might just end up meat grindering. Meat grindering is the term. Into this forest, off of into a 3 factory setup from Teal. And 3 factories definitely going to be able to crush 2 barracks in general. So maybe just better for Deedland to get some money back and build a factory or whatever the idea is. First refinery done for Deedland, who still has 4 helicopters. The 5th and 6th on the way. First 3 helicopters now, or first 4, for Dr. No are off the airport at this point. And these could be very devastating in open field against this sort of army from Orange. No SAMs as of yet for Cursed Crusader, God Gamer, Burr. Say that 10 times fast. And 4 helicopters. These two are likely going to be able to kill the factory. Maybe not on the first pass, but these second 2 are going to definitely be able to finish it off. which will leave regular easy with just 3 factories. The first SAM is out, which is a huge bonus. Okay, and so the helicopters just back up. They unfortunately weren't able to take this out. But as long as the 4 helicopters try to do it again, they'll be able to overpower what is now 2 SAMs. Helicopters still from Dr. No, putting down a 3rd barracks. Very soon this west side of the map is going to heat up. Let's see if regular easy can get these SAMs in position. They are getting shot at, we just don't see it. And they're able to take out 1 factory at the expense of probably 1 helicopter, maybe even 2 if they hover over these SAMs a little bit too long. A large amount of artillery for regular easy, and I think the big question for Teal here is, can they get enough SAMs to be able to handle the rest of these helicopters? I think it really only takes like 4 or 5 SAMs even for Teal, who's about to lose this fight in the forest. At this point, it looks like Deedlin's just trying to focus fire this factory. I'm not sure if it's actually the helicopters are included or they're just attack moving. And potentially Red's going to be able to snipe this factory, I think, with the infantry not even caring about any of the units. They're just focusing down the factory. I think it's a great call from regular easy to just rebuild the factory immediately as a hedge in case that one does go down. And here comes the first fights between Curse Crusader, God Gamer Berber, and Dr. No. It's likely important for Orange to get some sort of amount of SAMs. There's only 1 factory, though. Luckily for Orange, they're going for 2 industry in the town already to boost that income. And potentially use that income to build more unit producing structures very shortly once that economy comes online. This many helicopters is just crushing this infantry line. And the beeping we're hearing is regular easy maybe disconnecting, but still all these units moving. This artillery and SAM army is going to be very scary for Deedlin, who's very wisely putting down a factory. Because it's enough SAMs that they're able to defend against these helicopters. Potentially wise for regular easy to keep at least like 3 SAMs at home in case the helicopters loop around and go right for the factories. But the angle might just make sense that as long as the SAMs stay here, they get the best of both worlds and they're able to cover the artillery as well as the production back at home. Curse Crusader is going to send some more units down to the south to help out with regular easy's push. A little bit at the expense of this western front. It's a large amount of helicopters, and whereas Deedlin's helicopter count was getting shaved off by some SAMs, I don't think any of these blue helicopters have died. There's 2 more on the way. It's just constant helicopter production. 2nd refinery for Dr. No. I think the best thing that happens for Bravo Team at this point is that they're able to just push through and destroy Deedlin's base. But with the 2nd factory and this whole mountain range and forest between the army and the rest of the base, it's a very strong defensive position for Red. If there's some artillery that gets dug in here, it'll buy a ton of time for either Dr. No even to transfer some planes down to the south to help out. Industry for Dr. No, I think that's a good call. Clearly on the unit front, they're winning here. And Orange is going to have a lot of trouble. Two airports in the back and a 2nd factory now for Curse Crusader, God Game Berber. I keep just wanting to say it, and I keep messing it up. So Orange it's definitely a question as to whether Orange can get the SAMs required to fend off this many helicopters and stabilize. Dr. No going for the economy, it matches what Orange is doing. But definitely looks good for Blue on that front. And here's a big moment in the game. Deedlin might end up losing a bunch of these helicopters. The SAMs will target the weakest unit within range. And they're going to get... So they're going to only miss 2 helicopters. 2 get away. There's 2 more still on the airport. The artillery's starting to do work. It's a question as to whether these 2 factories can produce enough artillery to defend this. A 3rd factory goes down for Dietland. I assume there's a little bit of panic behind this, a little bit of urgency, because it's actually a 2-person push here with this many units from Orange joining in. This is very deadly. If Dietland gets a snipe on this town, that disrupts a lot. One of the things that this does is that a bunch of these units now for Bravo Team can't continue on to the front lines to push Dietland's base. They have to stay back and deal with this infantry. Regular easy going for 3 towns. That's going to give a bunch of economy. And it's 3 SAMs now for Cursed Crusader, Godgammer, Berber, which is a decent number. But it'll be important for these SAMs to continue shaving off the helicopters without too many SAMs going down. 2 helicopters diving on the SAMs. I don't think the helicopters are going to be able to kill either of the SAMs potentially. When the machine gun goes off on the SAM, that's the thing that does the most DPS. It's not actually the rocket that we see there. Can there be one more hit potentially? I guess not. This helicopter count is looking real scary. 3rd gas for Dr. No to keep all these planes in the air. Because we can see Dr. No's gas usage in the top right. And that's not good for Orange that 2 of the SAMs got taken out. It's a very tough position. I like that there's 2 more factories on the way for Orange, and there's interceptors off of this airport. And interceptors are going to be great against the SAM, or great against the helicopters, pardon me. Dr. No still doesn't have any SAMs built. So the interceptors will just get free reign until that happens, or there's interceptors for blue that are made. One of the airports already goes down. Very scary situation for Dietland. These infantry were cleared up before they were able to get the town. And I like that Regular Easy is following up with the barracks here, because there's not as much fodder for these artillery pieces. And for sure, Bravo Team can still kind of throw in the sense that they'll run into this mountain range. If Dietland digs in here, they might be able to hold on for a little bit longer. Factory and 2 barracks for Dr. No, who's starting to get a bunch of land army. The interceptors are shooting at the helicopters on the ground. And between the interceptor count and the SAM count, Cursed Crusader, Godgamer, Berber might just have enough anti-air to hold off these helicopters at this point. I'm so interested to see what's going to happen here because it's relatively similar artillery counts at this point, and there's a huge defender's advantage for Red since all these buildings are closer to the front line and the units will take a shorter amount of time to get there than this reinforcing army for Regular Easy. Another refinery for Orange. We can see that the interceptors are out of energy. That's why there's that black plume of smoke. And when these 2 factories come online for Dr. No, this is going to be quite the ground army for Orange to deal with. There's a 3rd factory following this up. Relatively decent defense from Orange, I think, so far. And this is going to fizzle a little bit for Teal. 2 more factories, though, for Regular Easy, so I think by the time, if Dietland wants to push after defending here, it'll be tougher, especially when these factories come online, because it's going to be, what is now 6 factories for Teal against 4 factories for Red. Here come the helicopters from Dr. No. There's about 8 of them. Let's see if the interceptor's positioning and the SAM's positioning is going to be enough to deal with this next sortie. I guess Dr. No likely could just snipe this gas, but especially if they go around the south here. Not sure what the plan is. It's even enough helicopters that really, if they jumped on these SAMs, I think they'd take a bad trade, but they probably could just kill all these SAMs. There's 2 more in the forest, though, so maybe that's a little bit sketchy. It's definitely not the most ideal play. 4th factory for Dr. No. And here come these interceptors. Perfect timing, because it feels like the sort of moment where Dr. No would have launched helicopters. The interceptors won't do a ton of damage to the units on the ground. So if Dr. No waits for these planes to go back and land, the helicopters might find great value. I think it's a very close game at this point. One of the factories goes down for Deedland. And even more factories being built for regular Easy, who's just slowly pushing forward with a trail of factories. And yeah, Deedland's even building further back to defend this gas at this point. Dr. No making good progress in the north here. And potentially putting this airport at risk if these infantry can get there. And very strong multi-layer defense from Orange. These defensive lines we've seen in team games really come in clutch. Here come these helicopters. They're going to go around south to try to snipe that refinery. And in general, this is going great for regular Easy at this point, especially with all these reinforcing factories. Let's see the reaction time of Curse Crusader, Godgamer, Berber. If they can send these interceptors out in time to save this one refinery. I'm not really sure. This many helicopters are going to just do a ton of DPS. Helicopters are great because when they hover over their target, they just constantly are shooting rockets and the machine gun the whole time. They're not like strikers that they hit the target, then they have to circle around and hit it again. One helicopter goes down, the second one definitely will. These defensive line SAMs are in pretty good position. I guess it kind of gets out, except for this interceptor will finish it off. Interceptors versus helicopters goes about as well as you can imagine it would for interceptors. Although in high enough numbers, helicopters can trash interceptors. But in equal numbers, the interceptors definitely have an edge. They're going to catch at least one more helicopter. Great positioning of the SAMs from Dr. No at this point. And SAMs will... I mean, you can see how effective SAMs are against interceptors. They're going to get at least one more. I am so shocked that this thing got out. Jaw on the floor. Bravo team's now entirely taken this far right side of the map. Continuing to push through this little choke. I think Deedland, yeah, Deedland's starting to dig in. This is definitely the play. To dig in defensive lines. Town now and the 3 completed industry for Dr. No, making that a candidate for a city at some point in the future. And the defensive lines have been disbanded by Orange, which indicates likely that Orange wants to go for a push here. This is a decent amount of infantry in the north. And interceptors aren't going to be able to clean up this infantry quick enough, and the interceptors are also going to be needed over here with the helicopters. Dr. No's done a good job to move the SAMs in such a way that they protect the helicopters. And a 5th factory for Dr. No, so it's going to be 5 factories against 3 factories for Orange, which is definitely a production disadvantage. And you'd assume that over time then Dr. No is going to be able to get a bigger ground army. The helicopters clean out 2 SAMs. They might even get a 3rd here. Although with the 2nd SAM reinforcing, 1 helicopter will go down. SAMs fighting infantry. SAMs will do actually decent against infantry, and this is exactly what we're talking about with interceptors. Just don't clean up infantry quick enough, really. The 2 SAMs might be able to come home and defend and save this just in time, but it will be ultimate pain if these infantry are able to destroy this airport, which is totally on fire, when there's 5 interceptors on the tarmac. Orange is trying to launch the interceptors to at least get them in the air. That way they'll be able to land at an airstrip or another airport instead of just exploding. And wow, that was extremely close. I wonder how much health that airport had. Dr. No has certainly cleaned up this front line of the push, though. And that's bad news for Bravo team. We can see that regular Easy is already sending units up to the north to help defend. Launch pad in the forest here for regular Easy. And I'm not sure if this rocket can... I think it probably could reach this choke point. If it was landed a little bit in the water, it'll still do like blast damage to this defensive line. A 2-deep artillery defensive line, not a very fun thing to push forward into. I like this airport from regular Easy because there's still no SAMs here for red. So any sort of planes will be able to chip away at the defensive line and soften it up. And now a mix of strikers and interceptors for orange. It's a decent amount of SAMs for blue. I mean, potentially if orange were to send the planes in from like this attack vector, they'll be able to get on top of the production without taking many SAM hits. And regular Easy's artillery is now starting to show up into this fight. 3 SAMs is enough to do some damage to these helicopters, but it's I think the armies are relatively even on this part of the map. It's all about reaction time with these interceptors, I think, for orange. Because these helicopters, they're gonna, I mean, the first one was a little bit damaged, so that doesn't really count, but there's only 2 SAMs here, and they'll be destroyed relatively quickly. There goes now the second one. Another SAM is about to pop out of this factory, but in the meantime, these helicopters are just going to go ham on the artillery pieces and clear out pretty much this entire defensive line. And this southern part of the map is just turning into a big standoff. Depot now for regular Easy, hooking it up to this refinery via pipeline. And potentially some energy sharing between the two teams. It's so many SAMs from Dr. No, which forces Curse Crusader, Godgamer, Berber to pull back. And this army from regular Easy is really keeping orange alive here, I think. Otherwise, I think this push would have just ended up taking orange out of the game. Counter push in the north from orange to retake some of this territory that's very important. A full flower of SAMs against this many interceptors. It's hard for the interceptors due to a bunch. They're going to get at least a few of these helicopters, potentially even all of them. And I wonder how expensive this is going to be on airplane losses for orange. Maybe not super bad. Actually, it's always an interesting question about trying to dodge the SAMs, especially with planes that are relatively weak to SAMs, like interceptors and helicopters. I think this was a tough position for orange, but potentially could have held on a little bit longer, maybe. I mean, of course, I'm not playing the game, so I don't know what it's feeling like, and we're on Dr. No's view, so we're only seeing Dr. No's money and stuff, so I'm not really sure what the exact situation was. But this, with Curse Crusader, Godgamer, Berber leaving, it certainly puts regular Easy into a very, very difficult position. The way it is now, I'm not sure if regular Easy would get any income, any extra income for their teammate leaving. So now it's just a tough position. It's a 1v2 in this game. Regular Easy does have 3 towns, or 4 towns, pardon me. And at least the southern front is good. I mean, in the same way that regular Easy can't push into this army of Deedland, Deedland can't really push into regular Easy's, pardon me, army. So it's really just the north that regular Easy has to worry about. But now it's just a huge advantage for Dr. No because all these production units are close to the front line. And regular easy has to go all the way to the north through this forest, through this central forest, and then another forest, which at every forest will slow down the units you can see in the tooltip. At least for regular easy, a bunch of these territories are owned, so the units aren't going to move as slowly. But I think now, if Dr. No just kept building barracks and capping, it'll just be an overwhelming number of units for Teal to deal with. I'm not sure if we can't see a rocket based on the vision, or if there's just not enough money for regular easy to actually build the rocket. It costs 500, it's relatively expensive. And at this point, let's see how long regular easy can hold out. There's still more helicopters being made by Dr. No. Constantly reinforcing this position off of these 3 airports. A dock now on the way for Blue. And a few cruisers or missile boats can pull up here beside this defensive line and start shelling the artillery for Teal, who is moving everything to the north. Here's a full rocket, so let's see where regular easy decides to send this rocket. Unfortunately, it's just a tech problem now as well, because Teal has no planes, and it's hard, I think, to deal with this many helicopters with SAMs alone, just because of the maneuverability of the helicopters. But we'll see. Deedland is breaking the defensive line to start moving forward. 4 helicopters from regular easy that are fighting 2 helicopters for Deedland. With help of the SAMs, 1 goes down. And there's still no SAMs down here for Alpha Team. So these 2 airports that are filtering in helicopters the whole time, very slowly, regular easy might be able to push there, but of course it doesn't super matter if in the north, Dr. No is going to take all of this economy and just get super loaded, maybe even build a city. There's also an easy port for Dr. No in the far left. So slowly as time goes on, Bravo Team is going to fall behind in the eco game. First SAM on the way for Deedland. I think it really only takes like 4 SAMs to be able to deal with this many helicopters. And it is a cruiser from Dr. No, so certainly I think the idea would be for Dr. No to send a cruiser down here to shell this defensive line. With this many helicopters showing up at this peninsula, I think that the idea is the helicopters can actually reach this slightly, or at the very least they can attack this production. No, okay, so Dr. No has already seen this rocket, which is going to land. Great rocket from regular easy, gets a bunch of value here. But it's just tough because regular easy can't turn this into a push. So it really just buys time while Dr. No continues to cap in the north. Great pickup from Dr. No, although I'm not... If these helicopters, they're going to favor the units to attack. They go after the SAM first. But with this many helicopters down here, Teal's going to need at least a full flower of SAMs to be able to defend this rocket. And I'm not even sure if Teal has enough money to build a second rocket. So regular easy is going for a push now. And I think either way is fine for Red to either just push into this and buy time, or even back up and make another defensive line, which also ultimately buys time. Because where Alpha Team's getting ahead is in the north here. This entire capping party for Blue is... I mean, there's nothing that regular easy can do because this fight is such a problem. 5 factory and 6 barracks. Now for Dr. No, with 2 more barracks in the back and these 3 airports continuing to make helicopters, the town in the far west goes down. First cruiser is out. It's a very thin part of the map in this bottom choke, so cruisers can shoot, I mean, pretty far here. I think a cruiser sitting in this little bay could almost hit these artillery on the bottom part of the map. Great pickup from regular easy to snipe this one gas from Deedland. Deedland's not really using the gas. There's only 1 more helicopter. And this is tough for this many artillery. Taking on this many helicopters, and we'll just see how quickly these helicopters can shoot through this artillery line. Certainly a critical mass of helicopters that has been reached. If Deedland gets enough SAMs here, they might be able to push. It's really, I mean, I guess it's 4 factories that are still filtering into the bottom for regular easy here. But this fight not going super well for Teal. And Red is going to be able to push slightly. Let's see what 3 SAMs do against about 7 helicopters. The helicopters are likely going to get hit by the SAMs, then they'll move forward to attack the SAMs instead of the artillery. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Which means that Red's ground army is going to be able to keep pushing. So 4 SAMs, some of the SAMs are using their machine guns, which we've talked about before is the higher DPS. So 2 helicopters go down, I think. I guess this one gets away. And the SAM count is entirely reset. So great fight from regular easy, but these 2 cruisers are going to be a huge problem for Teal. Launch pad is still up. Let's see if a second rocket gets built. This many helicopters against this many SAMs, even when the SAMs are in a forest. The helicopters can just deal with this. Good attempt from regular easy to send some artillery up this right hand side to deal with this capping party from blue. And Dr. Nos, we can see the idea is going to just go around this defensive line to encircle it. Helicopters will do decent against cruisers. I think the big question still is just whether Red can get enough anti-air here. There's a bunch of helicopters for regular easy. Not really sure what the gas situation looks like. Here come just a ton of helicopters. For blue. There's 3 SAMs in the forest here for regular easy. As soon as the SAMs see, or the helicopters see these SAMs, the SAMs are gonna get wiped. There's still rockets left for the helicopters. So over time the helicopters will just, like, they'll shoot all their rockets and then they go home essentially. Like, they can keep using their machine guns, but over time they'll just be out. So they're heading home now. The closest friendly territory to land is over at this peninsula. Dr. No's a little bit out of gas. I don't think it really matters. Because Dr. No could just start putting down a ton of production, and there's no possible way that regular easy is going to be able to keep up. This gas does go down, so it leaves this helicopter stranded for Red. It's actually a good little push from Teal off of these many factories and some helicopters. The 2 cruisers would have gone down for blue, so the helicopters cleaned those up. Helicopters potentially in conjunction with some artillery. Another gas for Dr. No to keep these helicopters going. And this army is now starting to get entirely encircled. Another rocket is ready. This army is within the minimum range of this rocket. What would be super cool is if this rocket hit all these helicopters. But it's a very dicey thing to try to attack. Because if the helicopters move, then the rocket of course does nothing. It just lands on the ground and looks really cool. We can see just how important the gas question is for blue with another refinery going down. Now Deedlin's backing up. Backing up to this other choke. Certainly if this choke becomes a defensive fortress for red, regular Easy's gonna have a huge problem trying to defend it. Decent rocket, but unfortunately it's just the massive blue army that is continuing to reinforce this. And the helicopters are just gonna cap it. GG. Well played all. Let's check out some graphs. We love graphs. Yeah, so Bravo Team ended up having more Empire value. Let's see the money throughout the game. And importantly, the energy. GG. If you enjoyed the game, that's great. Check out the channel for more videos like this. If you want to learn more about the game, you can check out the Line War Discord. Chat with other folks who are interested in the game, ask questions, learn more about it, whatever you'd like. Enjoy your night, day, evening, whatever it is. We'll see you soon. Enjoy. Peace.